All right, here's a set of notes that I would like you to write. Make sure that you do not write these verbatim, or at the very least, if you do, that you do add your own little twist to them as well. Make sure you include any questions or additional comments or opinions that you have. This is a set of notes about the Articles of Confederation, along with an activity at the end. The Articles of Confederation are our first actual government in the United States. So in order to talk about this, we need to, as a class, we discussed what is the definition of government, how does the government affect your daily life, and how do you think the relationship between state and federal government work. So what we're going to do in class is we're going to discuss these things. We're going to take notes on that discussion. I'm going to include that in the blog post for today. Major provisions of the Articles of Confederation. When it was ratified in 1881, the Articles of Confederation was ratified as a league of friendship among 13 independent states. It was started by the Second Continental Congress. Now, League of Friendship tells you exactly, gives you the implication of exactly what it was. It wasn't this permanent legal standing, but what it was, where they're inexorably tied to each other, but what it was is it was a group of basically separate countries that were loosely associated with each other, a friendship as opposed to a marriage. It was unicameral. Unit always means one, and cameral means house. So that means the legislature, which is in charge of writing and passing laws, was only a single house. It didn't need to be passed like it does today through the House and the Senate. It was just one chamber. Each state, regardless of size or population, had one vote. Each state could determine how many representatives or delegates to send, but they only had one vote, no matter how many they did send. So this was also what's called a confederation. A confederation is a group of countries that are, or a group of states that are very loosely tied. They have the most power. The federal government does not. In modern times, the United Arab Emirates is an example of a confederacy. UAE, it's often denoted. The federal government only had the power to make war and peace, receive ambassadors, enter into treaties, raise and equip a navy, and request troops from state to create an army if needed. So the army, there was actually enlisted officers for the Articles, or for the United States, but the only way that there were actual troops is if the states decided to donate them. All of the military power of the United States between these years resided in state militias, establish a post office, and sometimes decide interstate conflicts. Everything else was granted to the states. So states were sort of the most important part of the government at this time. The federal government was sort of like a loose glue that put them all together. You can go ahead and pause this if you need to write anything more down. So there were successes and failures of the Articles of Confederation. The Northwest Ordinance of 1787 actually determined and decided what to do with the lands west of the original 13 colonies, what to do between Virginia and the Mississippi. So this was an important decision, and basically it said any new states would be equal to the original states, as opposed to the original states having some more power. They also negotiated a peace treaty with Great Britain and acquired that land that we talked about with the Northwest Ordinance from the Atlantic coast to the Mississippi. And the United States was also established from Florida to the Great Lakes. There's some major weaknesses, though, with the Articles of Confederation. The rules, the way that the government was set up, made it hard to get anything done. The federal government had no power to tax. The power to tax only resided in the states. Could not regulate trade of the state. So each state could actually negotiate individual trading treaties with other countries. This led to actually some competition between the states to get treaties and to get trade agreements with other countries. There's no executive branch. That meant that there was no police. There was no way to enforce national laws. They just had to sort of hope that the states would follow them. It took a really high amount of the states to agree. 9 of the 13 states were needed in order to pass any laws. So 9 of 13 votes, which is way past majority. All 13 states were needed to create an amendment. An amendment is just a permanent change in the Constitution. So if all 13 states would ratify that amendment, it would be able to be passed. However, it could, if it were unpopular with just one state, that one state could prevent any sort of positive change to the Articles of Confederation. As I cited before, there's no executive branch and there's no national court system. So those were some successes and weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation. Go ahead and pause if you need to catch up. So you'll have to read the packet that has been given out to you. Most of them are blue. You'll have some questions that you'll answer at the end. Put them on the same sheet of paper as these notes. And you are, at the end, going to create a political cartoon. Political cartoon is an opinion piece of paper, or opinion picture, and you're going to have, these are the guidelines for that political cartoon. A representation of the Articles of Confederation somewhere on the political cartoon. An opinion about the Articles beyond, it was good or it was bad. A nuanced opinion is always good. Is always the way to go here. You need to look at the weaknesses and the successes and weaknesses of it, or successes and failures, and determine what is the Articles. What was it good? Was it bad? And in an advanced way. Please include at least a title and a caption that assist in presenting your opinion. You can create this in a couple ways. You can draw it on your own piece of paper, and create a timeline and print it, you can create it online, print it out. Ragemaker.net and funnytimescomic.com are a couple easy ways to make that. I think they turn them into PDFs. If you know of another online comic maker, you can. If you'd just like to use PowerPoint and cut and paste pictures on there, that would be fine as well. You must make your own political cartoon. Be prepared to share this tomorrow with a small group of classmates and to be posted online for the rest of the class to see. I'll scan it and print it if I need to. If you actually drew it, then I'll take care of all of that work. Okay, here's some examples. This is an example of this. It's called Bridgegate now, where Chris Christie, who's a potential political candidate or presidential candidate for 2016, he's also a large man, so this political cartoonist is commenting that he is giant and that petty politics are what are messing up the traffic in Fort Lee. This is another example of somebody who says the GOP, right here, which is the grand old party. The Republican Party is holding back the war on poverty. Of course, this is a reference of a very famous picture from World War II at the top of Mount Suribachi on Iwo Jima. This is a political cartoon about an event in Benghazi. Of course, the Democrats, represented by the donkey there, say that Benghazi spells no big deal, and the Republicans think that it's a big deal, so much so that it's on the same level as Watergate. Benghazi is something that you're going to definitely need to know more about, and we will be discussing in class. There was a terrorist attack, and the Republicans think that there was a cover-up, and the Democrats deny that. So more and more will come out about that in the news as this year goes on. This is about a year old. There was a fiscal cliff that basically a whole bunch of taxes were going to start taking place and did take place at the beginning of 2013. And this political cartoonist thinks that Obamacare and the tax rules will absolutely wreak havoc on the average citizen. The Obamacare or Affordable Care Act went to the Supreme Court, portions of it, and the Supreme Court upheld it. And one of the reasons that the Supreme Court decided that Obamacare was okay is that a particular portion of it is not a tax as opposed to it being a tax. If they had declared that it was a tax, major portions of the law would have been overturned. This is a political cartoon supporting the increase in minimum wage. It's a reference to the bell ringers during Christmas that stand outside many institutions. I'm sure you've seen them. And this person says it's actually for the employees inside, assuming, showing that they think that they don't